lot of people, a lot of people do not like to say, I told you so. I love to say, I told you so. Watching the Eagles play the Redskins, this is Doug Pederson's fired. Breaking news. Me and Justin have discussed this situation. We discussed the Eagles. I had conversations with a lot of people after the Washington game. I watched the Washington game live. I realized that the difference in opinion that I had from myself to other people were that I watched the game live and they didn't. I had a lot of conversations with people that said, well, Doug said in his press conference that he was going to give Sudfeld some reps. I understand if you didn't watch the game, why you thought that was all part of the game plan. They don't owe anybody anything, so on and so forth. If you watch that football game, when Jalen Hurts got pulled and Nate Sudfeld got put into play and just performed miserably, Jalen Hurts was on the sideline and he was pissed. Jason Kelce was on the sideline and he was pissed. The defensive players were trying to win that game for Jim Schwartz. They were pissed. I talked to Justin after the game. He didn't watch it live. A couple people I talked to didn't watch it live. There was a complete – the energy changed on the sideline, and the players were extremely unhappy about how the situation was playing out. They wanted to win that football game. They wanted to knock Washington out of the playoffs. They wanted to see Jalen Hurts get the opportunity to get a win in a tough game going into the offseason. This is not the only reason Doug Pederson got fired. There was a lot that played out this season. There's a lot that's played out the last couple seasons. They changed offensive coordinators. Ever since Frank Reich left, Doug hasn't been able to get the offense together. But I'm telling you, if that Week 17 game did not go down the way that it did, Doug Pederson's coaching job would not even be in question. It was embarrassing on national television. He lost the locker room. And Mike, you make up a good point. It is partly because of that, but you can't dismiss the Week 17 game. I'm telling you, I understand that Lurie feels he has to make a decision between keeping Carson Wentz and keeping Doug Pederson. And with the way that Wentz has regressed and where he came from, it's easy to point the finger at Doug because we've gone through training staffs, we've gone through QB coaches, we've gone through offensive coordinators. And I still think that the Eagles have a lot of issues when it comes to the GM position, as Shane just said. The nail in the coffin was the Week 17 game. When you already ruined your relationship with one QB who was your only Pro Bowler that you've drafted in the last 7 years. That's a Howie Roseman issue. But you lost your starting QB, and you're trying to groom who everybody thinks is going to be the next starting QB. And you bench him in the fourth quarter of a game that everybody on that football team wants to win, and you throw the football game for 3 spots in the draft, you've lost your locker room. Period. End of story. I don't understand Lurie's decision to keep Howie if he does. I don't know if there's more moves that are going to be made. It's obvious that we're having trouble developing. It's obvious that we're having trouble drafting. Howie Roseman does need to go, and I'm not sure if anything gets fixed if he's still here. The cap issues still remain with Doug Pederson gone. The guys that are 30-plus with bad contracts still remain with Doug Pederson gone. There's a lot of moves that need to be made. I don't love any of the coaching candidates coming in this year, but the point of this firing was Lurie saw the sideline, he saw the locker room, he took the temperature, and Doug was the odd man out. We thank Doug Pederson for helping us win a Super Bowl in 2017. I don't want to sit here and trash Doug, but you've seen the team go like this over the last couple years. Barely made the playoffs last year. The division's been bad forever. Had to win against some bad teams. Carson Wentz kind of carried us in the last part of the season last year. Don't know where they're going to go coaching-wise. I have a feeling we're in for a really rough couple of years. on this Eagles football team. But again, breaking news, Doug Pederson has been fired. You know, this is a move that I wasn't expecting to happen. We were talking about, they were talking about a trade with the Jets, which I thought was weird. Head coaches very rarely get traded. Dan Quinn's interviewing in Dallas as the defensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley seems to be taking the Jags head coaching position, and I would too. I'm about to get Trevor Lawrence. I think that would be a pretty good fit for Lincoln Riley. Or I'm sorry, not Lincoln Riley. Forget brain fart. But coaches that I see has options. The Eagles are a team that's probably not going to make a big splash in coaching. We've all been calling for Deuce to be handed the reins as an offensive coordinator. I think Deuce he's going to have a shot to interview for the job. Jim Schwartz is gone. Urban Meyer, thanks, Shane. Urban Meyer is going to go to the Jags. He's going to get Trevor Lawrence. I would go to the Jags as well. I don't know if they're going to experiment with pulling a coach out of college again. The Chip Kelly experiment was a disaster for them, so I don't see them making that type of move. But I can see them bringing in guys for an interview. I mean, Eric Bieniemy's still out there. They might see how these playoffs, run out. They're going to probably try to pull from a playoff team, a guy that's respected, a guy that's a coordinator. They're going to want a head coach that can command a locker room. Matt Nagy's a good suggestion. I don't see that happening. Matt Nagy they have to find someone who's connected with their quarterback this year. Matt Nagy connected with Trubisky towards the end of the year against some really bad football teams, but couldn't connect with Nick Foles either. And you're trying to bring Carson Wentz back to where he was in 2017. This was a move, and someone mentioned it. It was obviously made because they're choosing Carson Wentz over Doug Pederson. They want to fix that relationship. They believe in Carson Wentz. Me and Justin have talked about this. I thought, even from a couple weeks ago, that the media narrative of Carson Wentz was wrong. I haven't heard anything from him specifically. His agent hasn't said anything specifically. And everybody's sitting there trashing Carson Wentz when the reality of it is he has no control over the situation. And I just think there's been some unfair treatment towards Wentz. I think he wants to right the ship. I think he's willing to do it here. We'll see how the offseason plays out. I don't think they're going to trade him. I think it's too big of a cap hit to let go of. I think they're going to have to probably give up a draft pick with Carson Wentz to get rid of the contract. And after the last two games, Jalen Hurts didn't convince me that he's the starting quarterback for this football team. So, I think Jalen Hurts needs some time to grow. I think Wentz right now is a better quarterback. If you disagree with that, I think you don't know football. We'll see how this plays out. Breaking news, Doug Pederson out. I love to say I told you so. I love to do it. Someone told me I was dying on this Pederson hill that, he announced it before the game. I don't care what you announce before the game. If you're in that game, you want to win that football game. Jim Schwartz is probably not going to be there. The Eagles didn't think, and Pederson didn't think, with the guys that he was going to be playing in that football game, that they were going to have a chance to beat Washington. There was a lot of starters out. There was guys on IR. He was evaluating different talent at different positions. The offensive line was half there and half wasn't. The DBs were on IR. And then they found themselves within 6 points. And the reality of the situation is you should have been like, well, we have a chance to win this football game. I'm going to let my guys stay in there and try to win this football game. I don't give a shit about Nate Sudfeld. He's been here for 4 years. He's a third-string quarterback. You know what you have with him. Imagine telling people they don't know football for things. He's not better than Wentz right now. I don't know how you can come to that conclusion. He had a couple good games where, defensive coaches didn't know what they were going to get for him. Everybody has those games. As soon as they come in, defensive coaches figure out what you do well, and then they game plan for it, and all of a sudden you're 7 for 21. He wasn't having a good football game, but he definitely gave them the best chance to win against the Washington Redskins. So if you're sitting here telling me that you're going to take a Jalen Hurts, who we saw for a handful of games, over a guy that was an MVP a couple seasons ago, you're wrong. Carson Wentz is a better quarterback. That doesn't mean Jalen Hurts isn't going to be better, but right now Carson Wentz is a better quarterback. It's been kind of unfair treatment towards Wentz. I can get into a whole episode about Carson Wentz and Jalen. I like Jalen. I'm not trashing Jalen. But it's obvious when you watch Jalen over the last couple weeks, once some defensive coordinators figured him out, that, you know, Wentz right now is the better quarterback and Jalen has a lot of work to do. So we'll be back on Wednesday. Justin and I will be talking about this. I'm going to go back on all my comments and like all the ones that I was right about and you guys were wrong about. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. And we'll keep you updated on the coaching search. And when I come back, on Wednesday, Justin and I will have probably a list of candidates for you guys that we think maybe could revive Carson Wentz, recapture the locker room. It's going to be a tough couple years for the Eagles. This is a bad sign to start with. I'll say that. I don't think there's any winning seasons coming up over the next 2 years unless there's some major moves that are made that I'm just not even thinking about right now. So again, we'll be back Wednesday, 11 o'clock. Big Facts. Justin will be with me. Thanks for tuning in. And questions, comments, write them down. I'll try to get to them. Thanks.